Okay, now, all religions are the same. They just emphasize different things and use different words and symbols. Well, this is another great question because I know there are. You can actually get textbooks in the study of world religions that take the approach that each religion in its own way is trying to get to the same place. And I guess I have to frankly say I think that's bunk. I have never been attracted to the notion that religion is all going to the same place, different variations on a common theme. And I have always appreciated in the study of the world religions not that at all, but their diversity, their differences from each other. And I find it worrisome that a person would try to sort of paint over those differences with a notion of sameness. Because I think when you do that, I would say that it would be something like having 12 very, very different oil paintings before you, and you take a white paint, partially transparent, and paint over the tops of all of them so that they all have a sort of white glaze on them. Well, we'd say that ruins the painting. We would be horrified. We'd say, well, that's vandalism. Look at that. You can't see their colors. You can't see what the pictures are as clearly. I'd say, yeah, that's exactly right. When you do that to the religions with the notion of the blush of sameness, you distort. So that's the initial response to that question. Now, to look more specifically, to concretize this, lots of persons who study religion have different patterns for enabling us to see the diversity of these paintings without being so rash as to paint over them. And one pattern that I think is helpful in general is to distinguish between religions that focus on transcendence and religions that focus on immanency, or religions that have a vertical trajectory or religions that have a horizontal trajectory. Now, to even be more specific about this, when I look at some of the indigenous religious traditions, folk religions, whether they're found in Native American practices or folk religious practices in countries like China or Japan, if you look at Taoism, we see what I've described as religions of immanence or with a horizontal trajectory of meaning, where the goal of these religions is to enable us to walk around in the world and have a place, and often nature, various elements of our relation to the natural world we live in are thematized. Religions that have this pattern don't really evoke a transcendent being or power. So if we thought religions were all the same, either we'd have to say, oh, well, they really do have a transcendent focus and power. There really is a God concept in them. And we'd have to ferret this out. Or we'd have to say, well, these religions clearly aren't religions, because religion has to have an element of verticality, transcendence, appeal to a divine being beyond ourselves, a power beyond ourselves, an out-of-the-world experience. Well, either option seems to be a lot of energy put into something that really isn't necessary. That one can have a religion, and if we think about the various things that religion does, when I talked about what is religion, there is a lot of work for religions to do without ever bringing God into it. So you can have religion, you can address questions of meaning and of humans with each other, with community, with their past ancestors, and have it without a God concept. And then, of course, you can have religions that do. So even I would acknowledge that we can create patterns for religions. We can clump them by saying this religion looks like that religion in respect to something. I was just this week lecturing on the Shakers. And the Shakers have an understanding that God has both maternal and paternal qualities, mother, father, God. Well, we had studied some essays written by Hasidic Jewish women in which they talked about the maternity and paternity of God. And so I said, well, what religion have we studied before now that also thinks that God, in the book of Genesis, it said that humans are created in God's image, male and female, God created them. What other religion said if humans are in God's image and if creation happened for God the way it happens for humans, there must be male and female in God? What other religion? Well, some of the students remembered that it had been Hasidic Judaism where we had seen that before. So I think looking at patterns, I mean, we don't have to be so concerned about these 12 paintings that we would not say, well, look, this painting seems to look a bit like that painting. I think that's fine. But I really resist, and I emphatically resist the notion that we would seek out a oneness of religion in any more sustained manner than that, because then I think we lose the wonderful individuality. And as a scholar of religion, I have always thrived on that difference. It would be so sad, I think, to teach the world religions and to teach them as if they're all one for 16 weeks. I mean, 16 weeks is so little time. I want to make it a time when we can see how creative these efforts to be in touch with all of the things that religion are, how creative humans have been, how diverse in expression. Just the way in an art museum, I don't want to just stay with one kind of painting. I want to go from room to room and see everything that's been done, and it's a real celebration. And that's my approach to the study of religion.